begin by looking at the biggest gainers of the day. Athi River Mining is up 3 shillings. What's happening behind that particular stock?
Well, if you look at it, we are through that period where most investors are looking at profit taking. And if you look at Athi River Mining story, the beginning of the year, they've actually broken down into 3 companies. There's Athi River Cement Limited, the holding, there's Mavuno, there's a fertilizer, and the third company, which was also part of Athi River Cement Limited. Now, what has happened is that the 3 companies are now operating more or less independent, and maybe in future they'll plan to have them listed separately at the stock market. Then you look at also there's a capital injection in terms of there's a major investment. There's a coal plant that they plan to put up in Mombasa, which would be ready by 2011, and this will cut down the production costs in terms of the payment to Kenya Power and Light for electricity. So that in the long run is going to be a profitable company. But when you look at the stock market in general, we are still at that period where it's profit taking until the end of March, because most companies are still making their announcements. And most investors coming from a very poor year in the sense of 2009 are looking forward. And the signs have been there. You've seen how Safaricom has gone up to about 6 shillings sometime in January 18th, and now it's hovering between 5 shillings and 50, 5 shillings and 35. You look at the same with some of the banks. So more or less we can say that the market is more from a point of view of it's in a profit-taking mode. Now,
there was also quite a bit of action on the East Africa Brewries counter today after Diageo announced the results. Early this morning, according to Alicant Search site, the stock was up 1.3%. We're expecting the results out by Thursday next week. What's your take on that particular counter, keeping the results in mind?
Well, I'd say EABL has never disappointed any investor. In fact, all who are investors with EABL, you notice even the way the shares are traded, very few get to be traded in the market. It's a closely held stock for 2 reasons. One, it's a very profitable company, and consistently. Then earnings for the stock are also very good. And then 3, the structure for the company. You notice that with the last budget reading, there was a very major reduction on taxes as far as the wines and spirits, the liquors are concerned. And that is going to be a very big revenue earner for EABL going forward. Then 3, you notice that they have gone back to rebranding in terms of some of their key products, especially the Tusker malt. You've noticed Alvaro has launched actually another new product. I think they launched Alvaro passion fruit. So going forward, looking at the share itself or the stock, it's also one that is most profitable for those who have it. And those who don't have it, there's a kind of slight demand for that share. And with the results by Diageo showing a slight increase in profit, the same is tended to trickle down to the company here.
Barclays Bank, we also expect results next week, I think on Friday. Yeah. Do you see investors begin taking positions on Monday on that particular counter?
Well, if some are going to take positions, well, I'd say they're taking positions at a later date. Already those who've taken positions have been taking over the period of time from December on through January, because you notice the trend, the way the market has been. It has actually gone up, but now it's dipped. It hasn't gone past the psychological 4,000. We are still hovering between 3.6 and the V, because there's a lot of demand and supply. But now you notice that the supply is sort of drying out. Hence the prices will slightly peak as we move towards the next week. And then also the interest whereby the foreign investors have actually come on board in the market, and you can notice that they're actually participating very heavily in the market. So give or take, we would see a slight increase, but like I would say, it would be a share to watch for next week, together with Mumia Sugar, as you care to note, in terms of the way Mumia Sugar has been performing, and the usual blue-eyed boy, Safaricom.
Now, you've talked about the NSE 20 share index sticking between the 3,400, 3,600. When the rally was on in January, some of the analysts we spoke to said they see the index reaching 3,000, 4,000 by mid-February. Do you see us reaching that point maybe towards the end of February?
I would say it would not be that much so because of the issue of profit taking. Because as much as there is a rally for prices, there's also a rally in the opposite direction, with most shareholders taking profit within the companies that they hold. And that would, maybe if you notice, that's why the price, the range has been between 3.6, 3.5, maybe on the higher side with my touch highs of 3.8. But as for the 4,000, I'd like to say not just yet.
Going into next week, what are some of the top stocks we are watching? I also understand BOC Kenya is yet to announce results.
Yeah, I would say I'd still watch Mumia Sugar. I'd still watch Safaricom. You'd watch Athi River Mining. I'd still watch Access Kenya, to give a few. And the usual, I'd say, just last but not least, EABL.
Okay.